When I turned 23, my father gave me an engraved necklace with these words on it. Can you name that? Pause the video. The first time I saw this, I assumed it was a Roman emperor's motto. But what did it mean? What did it say? Memento mori. Remember, you will die. It felt strange. Why would anyone want to be reminded of that? Now, years later, I see those words everywhere. On bracelets, on t-shirts, even carved into gravestones. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. It's become a symbol of our obsession with death. But that's not how the Stoics saw it. They didn't wear the memento mori bracelet to remind themselves that they'd soon be dead. They wore it to remind themselves that they were alive. That's right. This morbid phrase is actually one of the most joyful and affirming statements in Stoic philosophy. And in today's episode, we're going to explore why. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private notes Meditations that we should focus our attention on the precious nature of life because it's fragile, fleeting, and ours only for a brief time. He writes, "What is life? A flash of lightning in the darkness, a fire that flickers and dies, a dream that vanishes with the morning, a vapor that appears for a moment and then is gone, a shadow that lengthens as the day declines, a canto that grows silent, an echo that fades away. When we remember that our lives are short," he argues, "we will start living them fully." You know, I used to feel so disappointed when I realized that another year had passed and I hadn't accomplished anything. I looked back at all the hours lost to distractions, silly arguments, comfort, and complacency, and I hated myself for wasting so much of my precious time. Life isn't long enough, I told myself, and that feeling made me desperate. I started pushing myself harder, taking on too many responsibilities, trying to cram too much into every hour. I was anxious and exhausted and miserable. I couldn't enjoy any of it. Then I found Marcus Aurelius. He wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." He meant that if you're focusing on everything equally, you're focused on nothing. You're spreading yourself too thin. I realized I had been trying to do too much. I needed to choose which hours I would treasure and spend them with intention, with gratitude, with people I loved, doing things that mattered. Remembering that life is short helped me reclaim my life. We often think that our problems are unique to us, that we're the only ones facing them, but that's simply not true. Every human has struggled with the same problems since the dawn of humanity. For thousands of years, humans have worried about the future and overthought the past. They've procrastinated and gotten distracted. They've compared themselves to others and given into the fear of loss. In short, they've suffered. But no one understood these problems better than the Stoics. And they left us with some of the most powerful words ever spoken to help guide us through them. Let's start with distraction. Do you ever feel like your attention is scattered and you can't focus on one thing at a time? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The mind is like a monkey, always trying to grab the next banana in the tree." We're always looking for the next shiny object, the next exciting message, the next addictive video, because we think it will bring us happiness. But it never does. Instead, we just end up frustrated and even more distracted. I love this analogy because it's so simple yet so accurate. Just like a monkey swinging from branch to branch, our minds are always on the lookout for the next big hit of dopamine. But in reality, that fleeting pleasure never lasts. Instead, it just leaves us feeling more scattered and unfocused. So here's what we can do instead. Practice mindfulness. Pay attention to where your thoughts are drifting and gently bring them back to the present moment. Don't fight your thoughts. Just observe them without judgment and let them pass like clouds in the sky. This might take some practice, but with time and patience, you can train your mind to stay focused. Next is procrastination. Do you ever find yourself putting off tasks until the last minute? You know, those projects that you've been meaning to get around to for weeks or even months, but somehow they just keep getting pushed further and further down your to-do list. Well, you're not alone. Procrastination is something that everyone struggles with, and it doesn't have to ruin your life. Here's what Marcus Aurelius said: "Act as if it were impossible to procrastinate." Now, I know this sounds easier said than done, but hear me out. Instead of fighting the urge to procrastinate, try to flip the script. Imagine that it's completely impossible to put things off any longer. You have to do it right now. This may sound counterintuitive, but it works because it shifts your mindset. Instead of seeing tasks as burdens to be avoided, you start to view them as opportunities to prove yourself wrong. You realize that you're capable of getting things done, and that accomplishment gives you a sense of power and control. Plus, once you've overcome the initial resistance, you'll find that the task isn't as daunting as you originally thought. So next time you find yourself struggling with procrastination, try this exercise. Visualize the satisfaction you'll feel once the task is complete, and let that motivate you to take action. Comparison is next. Do you ever feel like you're in a constant competition with everyone around you? You compare your achievements, your looks, your possessions, and it feels like there's always someone who's doing better, looking better, or simply living a seemingly better life. Well, it's important to remember that we're all on different journeys. Epictetus said, "Each man is the architect of his own future." We have the power to shape our own lives, and comparing ourselves to others can distract us from our own path. Instead of focusing on what we don't have or feeling envious of others, we should concentrate on our own goals and values. Remember, you're not in competition with anyone except the person you were yesterday. So embrace your unique journey and celebrate your own accomplishments. Lack of discipline is another problem we all face. It's hard to resist the temptations of instant gratification when everything we want is just a few clicks away. But as Seneca said, all the power of the world is in the hands of the disciplined. Building self-discipline is essential for achieving our goals and living a fulfilling life. But don't worry, it's a skill that can be developed. Start by setting small achievable goals for yourself and gradually build up from there. Focus on building good habits and resisting bad ones. It won't be easy, but the rewards will be worth it. Emotional control is also something we all struggle with. We want to feel happy and avoid pain, but sometimes our emotions get the best of us and we react in ways we later regret. Seneca reminds us, "He who cannot control his emotions will be controlled by them." Our emotions are powerful, but we have the ability to choose how we respond to them. Practice mindfulness and self-awareness. Take a moment to pause and reflect on your emotions before reacting. Ask yourself questions like, am I feeling angry, sad, or anxious? By becoming more aware of our emotions, we can better understand ourselves and better manage our reactions. Overthinking is another common problem that can lead to unnecessary stress and anxiety. It's easy to get caught up in a loop of negative thoughts and worries, but as Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the less you identify with your thoughts, the freer you are. Overthinking often stems from our tendency to dwell on worst-case scenarios. So practice mindfulness and focus on the present moment. Remind yourself that you can't control everything and that worrying won't change the outcome. So remember, you're not alone in facing these challenges. The Stoics have been grappling with the same issues for centuries, and their words offer timeless wisdom and guidance. By applying these principles to our daily lives, we can overcome these obstacles and live more fulfilling lives. Now I want to leave you with a final thought. What if we viewed death not as an ending, but as a beginning, a transition to a different state of being? What if we saw it as a natural part of life rather than something to be feared? This shift in perspective can help us appreciate the preciousness of life even more deeply. It can motivate us to make the most of every moment and to live each day to the fullest. It can also help us to let go of our attachments and to focus on what truly matters. So let's take a moment to reflect on the idea that death is not an ending, but a beginning. Let's ask ourselves, how can this perspective shift my approach to life? How can it help me to live more fully and more intentionally? If you enjoyed this episode, I really appreciate your support. Please like and subscribe. It means a lot. Thank you.